You are going to do good work today. She never nagged at him. She never criticized him. She never scolded if he was late. She always told him what a bright man she thought he was. One day she did a very unusual thing. She wrote out a creed for her husband to sign and hang in front of him where he could see it all day long while he was at work. This is a copy of the creed. It reads, "I believe in myself. I believe in those who work with me. I believe in my employer. I believe in my friends. I believe in my family. I believe that God will lend me everything I need with which to succeed if I do my best to earn it through faithful, efficient, and honest service. I believe in prayer, and I will never close my eyes in sleep without praying for divine guidance to the end that I will be patient with other people and tolerant with those who do not think as I do. I believe that success is the result of intelligent effort and does not depend upon luck, sharp practices, or double-crossing friends, fellow workmen, or my employer. I believe that I will get out of life exactly what I put into it. Therefore, I will be careful to conduct myself toward others as I would be willing to have them act toward me. I will not slander those whom I do not like. I will not slight my work, no matter what I may see others doing. I will render the best service that is in me because I have pledged myself to succeed in life, and I know that success is always the result of conscientious effort. Finally, I will forgive those who offend me because I realize that I will sometimes offend others, and I will need their forgiveness." And then she left a place at the bottom for him to sign. Do you wonder why this young man who started as a laborer in the coal mines has risen to success and wealth when you hear the creed that he signed and did his best to live up to it? This is a good creed for you to sign and place before you at your work, where you can see it each day and where others can see it. You may find it hard to live up to this creed at first, but everything worth having costs a price of some sort. The price of self-confidence is conscientious effort to live up to this creed. If you are married, show this creed to your life partner. If you are not married, show it to someone whom you would like to make your life partner, and ask that person to assist you in living up to the creed. Believe in yourself if you want others to believe in you. Expect success of yourself if you wish others to expect success of you. The world accepts you at pretty much your own valuation. Therefore, set the value high. It pays handsomely to believe in yourself, and it pays to develop that sort of personality that causes others to believe in themselves. We know a man who devotes his entire life to helping others build self-confidence. The other day he received notice that a successful businessman had included him in his will for a large bequest. In explanation, the donor said, "Reading one of your books helped me to become a successful man, and I am leaving a part of my wealth to you that you may go right ahead helping others as you have helped me." Helping others to pay themselves pays in more ways than in mere dollars. It pays in happiness. You can be wealthy in money, and you can be wealthy in that something which money cannot buy and which cannot be measured by a monetary standard, if you will develop the art of helping men to help themselves. Believe in yourself first. This is the first requisite for all worthwhile attainments. You. You are the most important person in the whole world. In you are all of the elements of a successful man. You have within you all the latent forces that will lift you to your desires in success and happiness. This article will help you to realize more and more that you are a man of worth and the most important person in the world. Whatever you desire, you can have. For in the development of your ability, your desires will frame themselves within measurable size, and with a correct understanding of your desires, will come a realization of your power to secure them. Honors and riches and power might come to you by accident, unearned and uninvited, but they will not serve you, and you will lose them again unless you are prepared to receive them and to use them aright. The whole of a man's power lies within himself, and a man's first duty is to himself. In carrying out that duty faithfully, you cannot fail to leave your impress on the society in which you move. You cannot fail to raise the standard of your environment and to dignify all your surroundings. You may be only one of hundreds or thousands all working in a great business house. Your immediate duties may seem monotonous and trivial. There is no apparent incentive for enthusiasm or personal pride. Be yourself and show yourself. Your job will always be what you want it to be. It will always be what you deserve. It's not your job. It is not your pay or your conditions or your prospects. It is you. Believe in your own ability to do big things. Only by having faith in yourself can you compel others to have faith in you. Whatever you are called upon to do should receive your wholehearted attention and interest, your maximum ability. Do it in such a way that those above you will take notice. You can compel them to notice if only your actions have enough vigor and common sense. It all depends on you. To become despondent about your lot in life is but to belittle yourself without helping yourself. To be determined on better things and ready and anxious to work for better things will surely bring its reward. There's no necessity to wait for other people to die before you get promoted. You can wait if you wish, but there is no need for it. You're just wearying and wearing yourself in the waiting. You alone are responsible. No firm would have an institution of promotion by seniority if every man and woman, boy or girl, exerted themselves more, had a bigger opinion of themselves, and worked according to that opinion. Engaging your own importance, do not allow yourself to float in a sea of superlative egotism. Do not let your head swell. A proper estimate of one's self must include credit for retaining control. When you realize your importance, you will keep control of it, so that you may apply your power in a sensible and cool way. You are bigger than you think you are. Act up to this. Do your present work better than anybody at your age or experience has ever done it before. Thus, you show yourself fit for still higher duties. These higher duties will come, and as you tackle them in the same forward spirit, a further advancement will be inevitable. And so you will go on and on. Everything lies with yourself. Nothing can keep you down if only you decide that you will move up. Most truly great men started in a small way, lower down the scale than you, whatever your present position may be. But they found themselves, they knew themselves, they recognized the power of the man who says, I will. Opportunities will not come to you unless you have an opinion of yourself big enough to grasp them. Be determined to better the work you are doing. Show how you can produce more at less cost of mental and physical energy. You were not born to remain always in your present station. There is room for you higher up if you are ready to climb to it. There is pleasure in the climbing too. Work is a pleasure if we make it so. Drudgery has no meaning for the boy or man who has an aim in life. A better job than the one you are doing now is waiting for you. You cannot get it by asking for it, and no matter how or when you get it, you must fill it well and so prepare for another. The world is calling for persons who think well of themselves, sufficiently well to dignify themselves by doing each task efficiently and with a result for pride. There is a better position waiting for you, but you must show yourself worthy of it by filling your present job so full that your ability shows itself to be running over. Somebody will see it and use it. Whatever is worth having is worth working for. Don't fume or fret at the success of some other person. Use your time for your own ends. Apply it to your immediate task, and don't pay too much attention to the result. It will come. It is inevitable. It is the law. Treat yourself as a man of worth. Demand much of yourself. Be your own hardest taskmaster. For you, the greatest thing is yourself. Use yourself right. Think well of yourself. Work hard for yourself. Others will benefit in the process. Do not deny them of this. Rest assured that your own reward is as certain as the work you do to secure it. Don't pity yourself. Don't lessen your own value in your own eyes. Have confidence in yourself. You are the most important person in the world. You can be what you want to be. Nobody can do so much for you as you can do for yourself. Everything lies with you. Self-confidence. Our doubts are traitors and make us lose the good we oft might win by fearing to attempt. William Shakespeare. Lincoln started in a log hut and stopped in the White House because he believed in himself. Napoleon began as a poor Corsican and brought half of Europe to his feet because he believed in himself. Henry Ford started as a poor farmer lad and put more wheels into motion than any other man on earth because he believed in himself. Rockefeller started as a poor bookkeeper and became the world's richest man because he believed in himself. They took that which they wished because they had confidence in their own ability. Now the question is, why do you not decide what you want, then go out and take it? Chapter 3. Initiative. The third signboard on the road to success is initiative. In plain words, initiative means that you will do the thing that you ought to do without someone else telling you to do it. The man who created these signboards on the road to success was raised down in the mountains of Wise, Virginia. He had but little schooling. He had no home and but few friends when he went to work as a water boy in the mines. Carrying water did not keep him busy, so he put in his odd time helping drivers unhitch their mules at the coal tipple. One day, the owner of the mines came along and saw this lad helping the drivers do their work. The owner stopped the lad and asked who had told him to do this extra work. The boy replied, "No one told me to do it, but I have some extra time and I thought no one would care if I put it to good use by helping the drivers with their work." The owner of the mine started to walk away. He turned suddenly to this lad and said, "You come to my office this evening after you quit work." The lad was scared because he thought this meant that he would lose his job for doing something he had not been told to do. With fear and trembling, he marched into the owner's office that evening. The mine owner saw he was scared, so he quickly assured him that he need not be afraid. He asked the lad to have a seat, and then he said to him, "My boy, do you know that we have several hundred men working at this plant, and we have more than a score of foremen whose work is to see that these men do what they are told to do and do it right? Out of all these hundreds of men, you are the first one I have had to call to my office on account of having helped the other fellow do his work without being told to do so. You have that rare quality called initiative, and if you will keep on using it, you can someday be in any position around here that you want." The mine owner then turned to his work, and the boy got up and slipped out of the office. This was one of the happiest moments of his life. He had gone to the office expecting to be fired, and he had actually been complimented instead. 5 years later, this boy was appointed general manager of that same coal mine, with more than 1,000 men under his direction. At that time, he was the youngest general manager of a coal mine in the United States. The men all liked him because they had confidence in him. Over the pay window, there was a great big sign that read as follows: "To my fellow workers. 5 years ago, the general manager of this plant was working as a water boy at wages of 50 cents a day. One day, the owner of the mines caught this water boy helping the drivers unhitch their mules at tipple number 3. He was not paid to do this extra work. No one asked him to do it. He did it because he wanted to lend a helping hand and lighten the burden of the drivers. Such initiative is a valuable part of any man's toolkit. Every man who draws his pay at this window has the same opportunity to advance to a more responsible position than this water boy had, and he can do it in exactly the same manner. No man on these works is required to do a part of another fellow's work, but there is nothing to stop him from doing so if he chooses. And if any man shows as much initiative as this water boy displayed, he can eventually have one of the best jobs on these works, because no one can stop him. From today on, you should take advantage of the opportunities that come to the person who uses initiative, because this is one of the most important signboards on the road to success. Your instructions in connection with this signboard on initiative are simple and easily followed. For the next 10 days, make it your business to use initiative by doing at least one thing each day that you are not told to do in connection with your work. Say nothing to anyone about what you are doing, but keep your own counsel and follow these instructions. If your work is of such a nature that you cannot perform work that you are not told to perform, then speed up a bit and perform more work and better work than you have been performing in the same length of time. Keep this up for 10 days, and by that time you will attract attention of your employer. You will also see, by the end of the 10 days, that it will pay you to use initiative the remainder of your life, because initiative leads to greater responsibility, to a bigger pay envelope, and helps you to get whatever you have decided upon as your definite aim in life. Initiative. The world bestows its big prizes, both in money and honors, for one thing, and that is initiative. What is initiative? I'll tell you. It is doing the right thing without being told. But next to doing the right thing without being told is to do it when you are told once. That is to say, carry the message to Garcia. Those who can carry a message get high honors, but their pay is not always in proportion. Next, there are those who never do a thing until they are told twice. Such get no honors and small pay. Next, there are those who do the right thing only when necessity kicks them from behind, and these get indifference instead of honors and a pittance for pay. This kind spend most of the time polishing a bench with a hard luck story. Then, still lower down in the scale than this, we have the fellow who will not do the right thing even when someone goes along to show him how and stays to see that he does it. He is always out of a job and receives the contempt he deserves, unless he has a rich paw, in which case destiny patiently waits around the corner with a stuffed club. To which class do you belong? Elbert Hubbard. Chapter 4. Imagination. The fourth signboard on the road to success is imagination. Every successful person must use imagination. You don't have to be well educated before you can use your imagination. When you use imagination, you simply build new plans out of old ideas, very much as one might build a new house out of old brick. One day, a young man was walking along in a line of people with a tray in his hands, getting ready to help himself to his dinner in a cafeteria. As he stood in line, his imagination began to work. He thought to himself, why wouldn't it be a good idea to open a self-help grocery store where people can come in, fill their baskets with whatever they want, and pay at the door as they go out? He rented a small store and he put his self-help grocery store idea to work. Now, he has stores in dozens of towns and cities. His idea has made him a wealthy man. His self-help grocery store saves time, and they save money for those who trade there. Look around and see if you cannot make your imagination work for you. If you can do your work in less time and do it as well, you have an idea that is valuable. If you see a way to help someone else do his work in less time, you also have an idea that is valuable. Anything that will save time and labor is worth money. Remember this, and be on the lookout all the time for a plan or an idea that will save your time, because this plan will help you on the road to success. Down in the southern states, they raise cotton. They used to throw the cotton seeds away or dump them out in big piles. These seeds were good for nothing. It cost money to haul them away. One day a young man came along and saw those big piles of cotton seeds. He picked up a handful and crushed one of them between his teeth. He found that it was full of rich oil. He got a tin pan full of the seeds and crushed them with a hammer. He poured the crushed seeds into a bag and squeezed the oil out of them. He found that the oil was good for many things. He also found that the seeds were good for food for cattle after the oil was squeezed out. This young man had used his imagination. He discovered that the seeds which the cotton growers were throwing away were the most valuable part of their crops. He began to buy these seeds and make oil and feed for cattle out of them. His discovery made him a very wealthy man. Now they save all the cotton seeds. This young man's imagination was worth millions of dollars a year. Anybody who finds out how to save anything of value that is going to waste is putting his imagination to good use. Perhaps there is an opportunity for you to use your imagination by stopping some leak or saving time for someone where you work. If you can find this opportunity, it will help you on the road to success. Out on the Pacific coast in California, a city had been built as close to the sea as they could build it. The city grew until it covered all the level land they had. On one side, there was a big, steep hill that overlooked the ocean. They couldn't build houses on this hill because it was too steep. At the foot of the hill, the ground was level, but it was covered with backwater from the ocean most of the time. It was too wet for building purposes. No one thought this ground was worth much because no houses could be built on it. One day, a man with imagination came along. He walked up on top of the steep hill and looked down at the ground that was covered with backwater. Then his imagination began to work. He had trained it for him to work. He saw what anyone else living in that city could have seen if he had used his imagination. He went to the owner of the low, water-covered ground and bought it for a small sum. Then, he went to the owner of the steep hill and bought it for a small sum. He then bought some dynamite and blew the steep hill down into the swamp and filled it up. This turned the swamp into beautiful lots. It also left a level place where the hill had stood, and he sold it for building lots. This man with imagination made a fortune in a few months' time by removing the dirt from the steep hill down into the low ground where it was needed. Take a look around the place where you work. If you will use your imagination, you will see some change that could be made that will save time or labor. You will find some way to do your work in less time, or you will see some way to do more work in the same time. This will be worth money to your employer and to you. No man can become a power in his community or achieve enduring success until he becomes big enough to blame himself for his mistakes and failures. Imagination is one of the most important subjects in this course of lessons on finding the road to success. If you will use your imagination in your work, you will be bound to get ahead. Just a little over 300 years ago, a poor sailor boy used his imagination and found a new country. That was the most profitable use of imagination ever recorded in the history of the world. That sailor's name was Christopher Columbus. From the shores of Spain, he looked out into the Atlantic Ocean and imagined that there must be land on the other side. He got 3 small sailing boats together and started to look for that land. He did not find it the first day, nor the first week, nor the first month, but he kept on sailing. He finally sailed his little boats to this country. As a result of Columbus' imagination, we now have the best, the freest, and the richest country in the world. We have a country where everyone can own a home. We have a country where everyone has a chance to work who wants to work. We have a country where everyone may believe as he pleases and worship God in his own way. No such freedom as this was possible where Columbus came from, when he set out to find America. Your freedom in this great American country was made possible because Columbus used his imagination. There may be no more big countries like this to discover through your imagination, but there are plenty of chances for you to help make this still a better country. Nearly 2,000 years ago, a little child was born in the old country. Its parents were so poor that they had no home, and the child was born in a stable. This child had but little schooling. It had no wealthy parents and but few friends. It had but little freedom, as men had less freedom in those days than we have now. At the age of 12, this child began to use its imagination. This 12-year-old boy saw that men were not kind to one another. He saw the need of more kindness and more freedom in the world. He formed a little union of men, perhaps the first union in the world. This union had but 12 members. This boy grew into manhood. He became a great preacher. His preaching was simple and easily understood, just as all great things are simple and easily understood. This great preacher devoted his entire life to telling men that the only thing worthwhile in this world was happiness. He told them that they could get happiness only by giving it to others. Some ignorant men caught this great preacher and hung him on a cross until he died. But they did not kill his message. His message was sound. It was based on truth and justice, and nothing can stop a message that is based on justice to all men. This great preacher now has millions of believers in his message. Perhaps you are one of them. If you are, you remember his great sermon. It was called the Sermon on the Mount, and it may be found in the book of Matthew in the Holy Bible. In that sermon, this great preacher told us to do unto others as we would have them do unto us. That's a good rule to follow. It has lived for 2,000 years, and no one has yet violated it without coming to grief. When you think of this great preacher, Jesus Christ, remember that he devoted his entire life to showing men and women that the only thing in this world worth having is happiness, and that we can get happiness only by giving it to others. One day, a poor young lad started down the Mississippi River on a flatboat. This young fellow was born in a log hut and had nothing but dirt for a floor. In New Orleans, he saw white men selling men and women as slaves. His imagination began to work. It did not look right to him for men and women to be sold as slaves. His imagination told him that it was wrong to sell men and women in a free country like this. Many years passed by. This young country lad became a man. He read in his Bible about the great preacher who was born in a stable. He remembered what that preacher said about doing unto others as you would have them do unto you. It did not seem to him that slave selling was practicing what Jesus Christ taught. He made up his mind to stop slave selling in America. Finally, this man's chance came. The people of America made him their president. Then he put a stop to selling people into slavery. This man, Lincoln, set the rest of us a good example to follow. He gave his life to keep this country the freest place on earth. Lincoln believed in justice for all. He believed we should be honest and truthful with each other. He believed that we should practice the golden rule in the shops and stores and everywhere that men meet each other. We have never had a better president than Lincoln. He believed that everyone in America had a right to freedom. He believed that a man had a right to the fruits of his own labor, no matter whether he was white or black. He believed that everyone had a right to protection in this great country, as long as he behaved himself. Use your imagination, and perhaps you will do something that will place your name among the immortals who have risen above mediocrity. Chapter 5. Enthusiasm. The fifth signboard on the road to success is enthusiasm. Everyone likes a person who is enthusiastic and cheerful. Enthusiasm will make your work seem lighter. It will make your hours seem shorter. Enthusiasm is catching. When one person gets it, everyone around that person also gets it. No salesman could make a success selling goods without being enthusiastic over what he was selling. Out in the Arizona State Prison is a young man who was sent there for life. Before he went to prison, he was an ill-tempered fellow who never was enthusiastic over his work. He was always in trouble and never succeeded at anything. When they locked him up for life, he soon saw that the prison was going to be a very lonesome place for a man who had no enthusiasm. So he started in to pretend that he was enthusiastic over his work. He went at his work with a smile on his face and worked as hard as if they had been paying him for it. He soon learned to like the game of enthusiasm that he was playing. This attracted the attention of the prison officials, and they allowed him more liberties. He turned his attention to writing during his idle moments. He began to practice writing sales letters. He soon became so efficient at this that he attracted the attention of business people who bought his letters. His letters were interesting because he put enthusiasm into writing them. The prison officials allowed him still more liberty until today he is making a good income from his writing. This ought to make some of us who are not in prison think about enthusiasm. Someday this prisoner will be pardoned, and he will go out into the world and succeed in a big way. Become enthusiastic over your work, and you will not only enjoy it more, but you can soon make more money. Not so many years ago, Edwin C. Barnes rode a freight car into Orange, New Jersey. He went there to ask Thomas A. Edison for a job. He got the job, but it didn't pay well at the start. The work was not easy, but Mr. Barnes made up his mind that he was going to work for Mr. Edison no matter what sort of a job he had to take to start with. Mr. Edison is a very smart man. He wanted to test Mr. Barnes out, so he gave him a hard job at low wages to find out how long he would stick to a job and how badly he wanted to work for Mr. Edison. Mr. Barnes tackled that job with enthusiasm. He worked as if he were getting the best wages on the works. He worked with a smile on his face. Everyone around the Edison works began to like him. Although his work was hard and his wages were low, he pitched right in and made himself useful. That's not been so very many years ago. Mr. Barnes is still a young man, but he showed so much enthusiasm over his work that he was promoted many times. He now has offices of his own in New York, St. Louis, and Chicago, where he sells the Ediphone dictating machines. He's a wealthy man and owns a beautiful home in Bradenton, Florida. A big jump for a young fellow who rode into Orange, New Jersey on a freight car because he was too poor to buy a railroad ticket. Mr. Barnes' rise to success and fortune is due very largely to his enthusiasm over his work. Dislike your work and it will master you, but become enthusiastic over it, and you will master it. You can see what would have happened to Mr. Barnes if he had kicked about the hard job and the low wages that Mr. Edison started him out with. He made the best of a hard job, and very soon, a better job at higher wages came his way. During the next month, do your work as if it were a game you were playing. No matter whether you like your work or not, do it with enthusiasm, just as if you did like it. Remember that a life prisoner in the Arizona State Prison found a way to be enthusiastic over work that he was forced to do and for which he received no pay. Remember also that the prison officials gave him more liberty and took an interest in him because of this enthusiasm. You have many advantages over the man who was shut up inside the dark walls of a prison. Therefore, you will find it much easier to play at this game of enthusiasm than he did. Keep up this game of enthusiasm for 1 month, no matter what you may see others doing. Say nothing to anyone as to why you are doing this. You'll get a lot of fun out of this game. You will notice that people will begin to show more interest in you. You will notice that your employer will begin to watch you. But you must keep your own counsel and go right ahead with your game. You must keep the fact in mind that you are on the road to success, and the signboards on the road told you to play at the game of enthusiasm for 1 whole month. You may not know why you are instructed to play at this game of enthusiasm, but you will see long before the end of the month that it paid to follow instructions. 2 hobos met in a boxcar one dark and rainy night. One of them had been a salesman whose hours were from 10 a.m. to